Hi, Healing Hearts. Today we are here with the wonderful Natacha Parris. She's a woman of God. She's a woman of conviction. And she does many things related to having a conscious effort to live in a better way, purposefully, prayerfully. So, Natacha, I'd like you to introduce yourself and tell us about what you do, and then we'll get into the good parts.
Absolutely. My name is Natacha Parris. Thank you so much. Let me say that first. Thank you for having me with your audience, Healing Hearts. I'm so happy to be here. I am a mother, lover of His presence, a wife. I've been married for 24 years to my middle school sweetheart.
Awesome.
I'm also an entrepreneur. I own my own business,
Mm-hmm.
and I have this organization called Excellent Families where I pour into families because I believe that's my purpose, just to really pour into families.
Let me ask you this. I know that you have a dynamic family. A lot of us have seen the Parris family in action, and the thing that really drew me and impressed me about your family was that you seem to be so very unified, and it's not just a regular unified. It's kind of unified on purpose. And you know that you can just really see what you've poured into your family and what you've poured into your children by what by their dynamic when we see them. So just tell us about what got you to that point, or what made you very, very conscious about wanting to instill those things in your family.
Absolutely. I always been a family person.
Mm-hmm.
I never anticipated having 6 children.
Yeah.
Even though
Blessing.
yes, it is a blessing.
Yeah.
I come from a big family.
Okay.
I come from a family of 11. I'm number 7 in the 11.
Okay.
And I don't know. I've always loved the whole thought of family. And so as I got to baby number 4, I was working and I was like, you know what? And I told my husband, I said, if I can't go back to work with all these kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that was like the first decision that I made, that I really wanted to pour into my family. I quit my job.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I wanted to stay home and be intentional about raising my children. So I made the sacrifice. I walked away from a nice salary.
Mm-hmm.
And, took a big pay cut and said, you know what, I'm going to, stay home with my children. And then, our marriage got very rocky. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Being married for 24 years, being married to someone, being together with someone for 30 years since you were 13 years old,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be trials and tribulations.
Yes.
And so what brought our family together, and a lot of people, they think like persecution is what separates you. Well, it could do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I was very intentional about my persecution. When my test came and when my trial came,
Mm-hmm.
I fought. I stayed in the game and fought for our family. And so the unification that people see,
Mm-hmm.
the oneness, the cohesiveness that people see is very intentional. Because I knew that when the enemy came to try to destroy our family, I wanted to win the battle. So I stayed in and I fought.
Yes.
And so I remember maybe a year before the trial came, before the test came, God gave us a scripture
Mm-hmm.
for us to memorize. It was Psalms 91. So we had this thing every morning. We would wake up. And of course, I didn't know a big, huge trial was coming. I didn't know this flood was coming to our family.
Right.
But I knew that Holy Spirit had given me an assignment to pour into my family into prayer. So we would wake up every morning for like a year as a family, and we would pray. And we started memorizing Psalms 91 as a family. To this day, my children can recite the entire Psalms. And again, not knowing what was coming, but God had prepared us. So we memorized. We would pray every morning at 5:30 in the morning, and just worship and memorize the word. And then a year later, here comes this trial. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when it came, we had a strong foundation to stand on. Okay.
Right.
So when people see that unification, us being together and us being very intentional, it came through some pain. it came to a separation. My husband and I were separated for 6 months. A lot of people don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it came from me driving, 14 hours by myself, because I ended up having to leave my husband in New Jersey, and I had to drive down to Florida by myself. At the time we had 5 children. Our son wasn't born yet, and all that came from, all that people see online came from the foundation of prayer.
See that?
Okay, that's what it came from. So the intentionality that people see online now came from, okay, we had put that seed in the ground through prayer. We went through our trial and our tribulation. God allowed us to have restoration in our family. And so now we're just grateful. We're grateful that God gave our family a second chance. And as, the mother of the house, the one that keeps the family together, I just want to make sure that we're solid, we're together.
I understand.
Right. Yeah. And so when people see us, and I want people to see that, wow, what a blessing. You know what I mean? What a blessing. And also encourage others as well.
Yes. And I think that it's important, and obviously I know you do, because of your, speaking with me. I think that it's important that people understand that things are not always perfect. Sometimes when it seems like things are falling apart, God is preparing you for it to come back stronger, or he may be preparing you for something else. You just don't know. And I think that kind of like for me, that's the purpose of listening, like listening when he's telling us stuff. I've had just several situations just in life in general, maybe where I have seen something, and I know that he's telling me something. I'm just like, no, I don't think, I just can't see that, but he gives it to you. And if you don't listen the first time, he's going to give it to you again. Yes. And, just as humans, with egos and all that stuff, we can kind of be stubborn about things.
Right.
And for me, that's part of what my journey has been. You can say like you trust God, but do you really trust him if you're always in doubt and you're always doing that kind of thing? So I just completely agree with you, in that things are not perfect.
Right. They're not.
Just in life. It's never going to be that way, but you can strive towards perfection and just, touch the stars. I think that's just a great thing. Right. And one of those things is that you instill the gospel into your children. I know that there's different people of different faiths, whatever, but I want to ask you specifically, as a Christian, what you do with your children to, put these things into practice and into motion in their lives.
Absolutely. I've always wanted to raise my children in a way where it's not religion, right?
It's a relationship, right?
Relationship, absolutely. So, I was raised in Catholic,
Okay.
So I didn't have relationship. I didn't even really know about Jesus Christ until into my adulthood. And then when I got into the church, I just saw a lot of, okay, you got to be to church on Sunday. You got to do this, you got to do that. And
conventional rules and
exactly right.
Ritual.
Exactly. So what we did a little bit different is I made sure that my children got relationship at home. You know what I mean? I made sure that we prayed before we went to church. I made sure we prayed every morning before they went off to school. I didn't want them to think that religion was just on Sunday mornings. That's the only time you would get God is on Sunday mornings. I want them to see and hear mom in her room travailing and praying. I want them to remember that, so as they get into adulthood, they can remember, oh my gosh, when mom was going through something, I remember her praying. I remember on her knees crying out to God. And it wasn't just on Sunday mornings that I saw her hands up. Her hands was up Monday through Saturday, So it was very important to me that I instilled in my children relationship, not religion, that you are developing a relationship, a personal relationship with God. And don't hold on to my God thinking that's going to be enough. You need to establish your own relationship with your creator, because my job as a parent is to mold you, and then after that, it's on you. Right. So that was very important to me, that they saw what we did inside the house, not just, on Sunday mornings.
Right. And that goes through conflict resolution, that goes through taking care of, your health.
That's right.
Your spirit, everything. And I know that your approach to that is kind of like all of that.
Absolutely.
So when we talk about like wellness, I know that you do like a lot of like health and wellness initiatives.
Yes.
And I'd like to talk about your juicing. And just tell me what that means to you as an integral part of everything.
Absolutely. Well, juicing is how you have different different milestones in your life.
Yes.
Juicing was just one of my milestones. So after I came through that very difficult time in my marriage, I found myself in a place where I was lost, where I was broken. I had, some people say, low self-esteem. I had zero self-esteem. And I remember looking at myself in the mirror one day, and I felt lost. Like I've had all these children. At this time, I've had 6. I was 35, 40 pounds overweight. And I just didn't like the person I had become, even though God had restored my marriage, but I still felt like something was missing. So I went to the Word of God, like I always do for direction.
Right.
I found the scripture in the Word that says, "You are not your own. Your body, your temple is your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. You're not your own. You were bought with a price." And that was the light bulb for me for my health. And then so I started doing research, and I found this documentary called "Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead" by Joe Cross. It was on Netflix.
Yes.
That's what really literally kicked off my juicing journey. And I had a juicer in the house, but it just sat there. And that happens to a lot of people. They have the equipment, they never use it. So my juicer was there. I probably used it maybe 2 or 3 times. But after I watched that documentary, and I felt like God was really dealing with me about my health, because this is the thing with, the whole wellness journey. It has to be some type of conviction down on the inside. Because if it's not, then it'll just be a fad. It'll just be something, I just want to lose 10, 15 pounds. But mine was more than that. Yeah, mine was a conviction. Mine was like, okay, Holy Spirit lives in your temple. You can't just put anything in here. Like, you're going to be held accountable of what you're putting in your mouth. So I started juicing, and it has just, it changed my life, So I always tell people, juicing to me is just my foundation of health.
Right.
It's something I can always go back to if I'm falling off. I go back to juicing to get me regulated. Yeah.
But do your kids love it too?
Yes, they do.
They do.
Yes, they do. They really do. Because a lot of people will look at juicing and they'll see a green cup and they say, "Oh, it's so nasty." It's not, because
it's not.
With some carrots, it tastes really good. So the kids love it.
That's awesome. Now you say about we talked about the wellness.
Yes.
And another thing that I want to tell our healing hearts that you do is you're a distributor representative for Wellness Online Shopping Club.
Yes.
They have a line of non-toxic products, and it's just something that is for the health of your bodies, the health of our homes. Can you tell us about that and like kind of how you got started in that? And
absolutely. So, I've always been like inside my body health type person, but someone introduced me to a different concept, and I love learning new things. That not only do we need to be careful of the things we put inside our bodies, but we also need to be careful of what the environment or what's outside of our bodies, because we have 2 homes. Okay. We have this home, this body home, and then we have the earth. So we have to take care of that home, because we only have one earth to live in, and we have one body to live in. And so when this person brought this concept to me of non-toxic cleaning products, never thought of it, honestly. You know what I mean? Like, I never thought that, because I just was always raised with cleaning our house with bleach and ammonia, right? And Comet and Fabuloso and all this other stuff. So I never even really thought about, oh my gosh, these chemicals that we're taking in, right? The stuff that we're wiping our counters with, and food falls down and our kids pick it up and eat it. Never thought about that concept. And then when I started doing the research and I found out that cleaning your house with toxic products is like smoking a pack of cigarettes per day. And that woke me up. And I said, you know what? If I'm putting all these good things in my body, and I'm juicing, I'm exercising, I'm working out, I'm doing all this stuff, but yet I'm ingesting or I'm smelling these bad fumes and chemicals, this is not doing my body any good. So I decided to go green. I'm one of those people, I'm all in, you know? So just like with the juicing, I went all in. The same thing with this go green concept of, you know, helping, you know, families, you know, switch from non-toxic chemicals products to non-toxic. So that's what we did. We went green, and we've changed from everything from our shampoo, our detergent that a lot of people don't think about, very toxic, our lotion, stuff you put in your skin. Your skin is the largest organ. So the stuff you put on your skin is very important because everything you put in your skin is going into your bloodstream.
Right.
So we just switched every product that we possibly could to non-toxic and eco-friendly because we got to take care of the environment. So very, very passionate about pushing that message now.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people. Well, we kind of slacked off a little bit with the recycling,
right?
But, you know, it's definitely something that we've got to pick up again. Just honestly speaking, we just fell off.
Right.
Sometimes it happens, but yeah, I think that's important too. And one of the things that like I've always heard or learned or whatever, it's about the next, you do things to take care of the next 7 generations.
Exactly right.
Yeah. And I think that the things that you're doing and the, you know, like the products that you represent and, you know, all that, I think that that's just it's just an important thing that we all need to be kind of conscious of.
Absolutely.
And it's not easy at first.
Right.
You know, just like with anything in life.
Right.
Yeah. If it's worth it, it's going to cost you something. It's going to, you know what I mean? You're going to have to do something. You're going to have to step up in some way or kind of like be a little bit uncomfortable or, you know, that's just the process of growth.
Absolutely.
And the process of, you know, like taking care of everyone, taking care of each other.
Absolutely.
So,
and everybody has a responsibility to do that. You know, we all have that responsibility to do something to make sure that our environment is safe and that we're teaching the next generation, just like you said, 7 generations. And that's why I pour so much into my kids, especially when it comes to health, because growing up, honestly, no one talked to me about healthy eating. You know, like that wasn't a topic of conversation. You know, whatever was put on the dinner table, that's what we ate. And that was it. There was no questions, right? But now, you know, because there's just so much information out there, you know, we have to do something.
Yeah. And I think that kind of when we were growing up, I figure we're probably around the same age. A lot of times people kind of like swept stuff under the rug. They didn't really, because either it was embarrassing to talk about or they didn't want everyone to know that they were, you know, having an issue or, you know, that kind of thing. How do you feel about that with the difference between like kind of the way our era was raised and you know, like your children, seeing, you know, how you pass that to your children.
Right. Well, I feel that, like I said before, it's our responsibility. You know, we can't go back and, you know, and change what our parents did. You know, honestly, they probably did the best thing. They probably did the best thing.
Right, with the information we had, yeah.
So now that we have so much information, like we can't afford not to pass it on to our children, to educate ourselves first. And this is where a lot of people mess up. They might know the information, but they won't put in the work, okay, and be consistent so they can live out the example for the children so the kids can see. Because, you know, I teach a lot on parenting, and I always tell parents, you know, your kids will do what they see more than what you tell them. So they're watching you. So if you're telling them, listen, we're going to live healthy, and then you're eating unhealthy, or you say, oh, I'm going to lose weight, and you go 2 weeks and then you fall off, it's doing more damage. It'll be better than for you not to even say it, than to say it and not do it. Because what you're doing is you're putting an imprint on them that says that, okay, you can start something in life and just quit when it gets hard, right? So it's our responsibility to make sure that we educate ourselves, we live by example, so our children can see that and they can take that and teach to their children and their children's children. And that's when, you know, it really, really matters. And I always tell parents, listen, you know, because a lot of people tell me, well, you're such a great mom. I was like, well, thank you. But I won't really know that until I see my grandchildren. Then I will know. If I see it duplicating, then I will say, you know what? Alexis understood about health. Now I can see my grandbabies. Now that I will say, you know what? It duplicated, because it doesn't matter what works. It matters what duplicates. So the duplication is key.
Right. And they usually take the strongest parts of what they see. And unfortunately negative also, they take the, you know,
voila. Yes.
But I think that it's a thing of conscious parenting, since we're talking about consciousness.
Yes.
That we let them know that I'm not perfect and I did something this way.
Right.
I'll tell you exactly how it turned out. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You know, obviously age appropriate talk. But you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is what I did and this is what happened to me. It's not a guarantee that it's going to happen to you, or that it's not good, you know, that it's not going to happen to you. Right. But I just think that we owe it, that we've been blessed so much to even be here.
Absolutely.
To even be able to have dialogue with our children.
Absolutely.
And I just think that that's our responsibility, to just pass it on, because we're all creators' children. So we need to, you know, just keep doing that.
That's right.
I just think that's the best way to enjoy our blessings.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Hi, I'm Tony, producer and hostess of Healing Hearts. Do you have a story that you'd like to share, of triumph, of overcoming the things that might have broken you? I'd like you to come with me and share your story. One of the most wonderful things that we've been able to do last season was bring on dance, yoga, meditation, sound healing, and other fun activities that have helped us just be the best version of ourselves and to heal things in the past as well. The journey's not always easy, but it's something that we have to do to heal ourselves from the inside out and to heal the world.
So when you think about overall the things that you've done collectively, what would be maybe the top 5 things that you would say are essential to a good life, and essential to growth?
Okay.
That's an important part.
The first thing, of course, is a relationship with God. That
right.
I mean, that is the first decision that changed my life. Because I always tell people I was raised Catholic, which I don't really consider church. I was raised, you know, not knowing God, you know, and that was one of the first decisions that, cause I was on a track of, I mean, we don't have time to go to my testimony, but I mean, I just had a terrible childhood, and my adulthood was going down the drain. And what saved me, yes, is my marriage and me being pregnant with my first child really just took me off the course where the enemy wanted to take me down, but that motherhood really, you know.
Wow, I went through something similar with like postpartum depression. And not realizing it. No one really realizing like what's going on, you know. And then you realize how much you've changed once you're able to see it. So just I'm sorry to interrupt you, but just when you speak, it just makes me think. It makes me reflect.
Yes. And of course, okay, the first of my relationship with God. The second thing that really I would tell people that it was life-changing to dive into is personal development.
Okay.
You know, reading books. I always tell people two things changed my life for sure: God and personal development. And reading books like Think and Grow Rich, The Compound Effect. I mean, books like that was life-changing for me because those types of mindset and the concepts was never taught to me. So, and it wasn't until like in my 30s, now I'm finding out, you know, about personal development. It really like opened me up to so much more, you know, taught me about, you know, the importance of surrounding myself with the right people. You know, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, you know. I mean, little concepts like that was not taught to me in my 20s. So, and so those are the things now I can take and I can pour into my kids. Another thing I tell people is, of course, health was another milestone that really, you know, changed my life. Another one, you said 5. Another one would be self-confidence. Okay. Self-care, self-love. I mean, taking that time, especially as a woman, as a wife, as a mother, you have to take that time for yourself. You know, I don't care how busy you are. I don't care how many children you have. I don't care how big your business is or, you know, what type of empire you're building. If you don't take the time and pull away, because just like you, and I can't imagine how busy you are, all the things you're doing, you know, people always, you know, pulling, needing this, needing that, you know, and sometimes it's okay to say no, you know, it's okay to say, listen, I can't do that, you know, I have to put myself first. And that took me years to understand, you know, it's okay to say no, and I come first, you know. Love is so important. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. There's a whole other component. I mean, we could go on for a really long time about self-esteem and the loss of self-esteem and how that plays into how you let other people treat you.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And how you even treat yourself because you don't think you're worthy or you know, that kind of thing. That's just it's just a whole other dynamic, but it's so powerful that we as women, we have to talk about, you know, we have to talk about these things. And especially like when there are young women, you know, being in relationships with others, you know, whether it's a relationship that's a love relationship or a friend relationship or, you know, that type of thing. You still have to be able to believe in yourself enough to say that I'm worth this, and I'm not worth someone doing this to me or someone saying this to me, or, you know, the things that a lot of times as women we accept. And that we just kind of brush under the rug. So we're like, okay, well, you know, it'll take care of itself. And, you know, I'll do this later and I'll just take care of me later. And, you know, that does not work.
It doesn't.
It snowballs.
That's right.
You know, and then you feel like you're starting over. Which is, I mean, it's a good thing. Renewal is good. Renewal is great. But we want our young women and even our young men to be in a position of self-love. And I just think that, just like you, I think that when you have that relationship with Creator, that is the basis of just so much.
It is. It really is. Yeah, it's your center. It's what you go back to every single time. No matter what happens, you go back to center. You go back to your Creator. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, well, is there anything else that you'd like our healing hearts to know? And we will, at the end of the video, we will put links, and forgive me, that's my grandson, but we will put in links and such so that our people are able to contact you. We want a part of the initiative of the Healing Hearts is to have people such as yourself that have actually lived what they're speaking about, and they have just a true tale. They're people of integrity that, you know, just actually will just really tell you what the real deal is. I think that's important, and that anything that we can do in our blessings, that, you know, that you can do in your blessings
to bless others. That's kind of the initiative. So, and I know that I've discussed it to you before, but I just want the Healing Hearts to know that, that that's a part of our initiative. So.
Absolutely. I mean, that's probably one thing. I mean, when I hear the name of your initiative and your and what you're putting out on, which is amazing, Healing Hearts, I think of forgiveness. I mean, that's not a word I use today, but I feel like I need to put that out there, because for you to really walk with a heart that is healed, we need to operate in full, complete forgiveness. And it's a lesson that I had to learn at a very early age. Mm-hmm. And I learned that lesson, and I'm just going to use my mom as an example, because that is one situation in my life that, had I not forgiven my mom, I think I probably would have been a different person. I probably would have been a bitter person, a hurt person. Mm-hmm. It would have affected every area of my life, even more. I mean, it still affected me, mm-hmm. but not in the way that it really could have, So I feel like, if I could leave a message for someone listening today, it would be to make sure you forgive everyone for everything, no matter what. No matter what, because you can't control what people do to you, but you can control how you react to it. And the reaction should always be forgiveness, because that's what God's looking at. God's not looking at who's right or wrong. He's looking at our own heart. And when he looks at that heart, he's going to make sure he heals it. And that's why Healing Hearts is so important. This concept, this name is powerful, that we operate in a heart full and completely clean, and it's through forgiveness.
Yeah. And sometimes that's very hard.
It's hard.
There have been like a lot of situations. I mean, I told you briefly about, you try to build people up,
yes.
You do for people, and it's not so you get something in return. It's just because that's what feels good to your spirit to be good to other people. Right. And like some people just turn around and just forget you when you're going through your trial. They're just like, okay, whatever. They have no soul input.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I just think that that's sad, and it's sad that that's still a dynamic that's going on, because mm-hmm. people like refuse to talk.
Right.
They're just not conscious about it, or that kind of thing. So that's why I just think that it's important.
Absolutely.
And you're just a powerful person, and one day hopefully we'll meet in person.
We will, for sure.
But just thank you so much. I just appreciate everything. I appreciate you talking to me and talking to our Healing Hearts today.
I appreciate you bringing me on. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the part where we wrap up, and we say goodbye to our Healing Hearts. So